Your eyes are the only place in the entire human body where a doctor can look directly at your blood vessels without making a single incision. No scalpel, no scan, no dye injected into your arm, just a light and a lens. And what they find looking back at them can predict a heart attack years before you feel a single symptom. The back of your eye, the retina, is laced with a network of tiny arteries and veins. They are the same kind of vessels that run through your heart, your brain, and your kidneys. They age the same way. They show damage the same way. So when something is quietly going wrong in your cardiovascular system, the retina often shows the first visible signs, sometimes a decade before a diagnosis lands. Researchers have known about this connection for over a century, but the tools to act on it have only become precise in the last 20 years. A technology called optical coherence tomography, OCT, now lets eye specialists map the retina in extraordinary detail. Studies published in journals like Lancet Digital Health and the British Journal of Ophthalmology have found that changes in retinal vessel width, branching patterns, and even the ratio of artery to vein size can flag elevated cardiovascular risk with surprising accuracy. Here is what that actually looks like in practice. When blood pressure stays high over years, the small arteries in the retina begin to narrow and stiffen. An eye doctor examining the back of your eye can see those arteries pressing against the veins beneath them, a finding called arteriovenous nicking. It sounds obscure, but it is one of the earliest visible signs that the walls of your blood vessels have started to harden. Cardiologists find the same hardening in the arteries around the heart. There is also something called the arteriovenous ratio. Healthy retinal arteries and veins have a fairly predictable size relationship. When the arteries narrow relative to the veins, which happens gradually and silently with sustained high blood pressure and early atherosclerosis, that ratio shifts. Studies following thousands of adults over 10 to 15 years found that people with a narrowed ratio in their 40s and 50s had measurably higher rates of stroke and coronary heart disease later on. The eye was reading the future. And it goes beyond blood pressure. Research from the UK Biobank project, one of the largest health data sets ever assembled, used machine learning to analyse retinal photographs from hundreds of thousands of people. The algorithm could estimate a person's biological age from the retinal image alone, and when that retinal age was older than the person's actual age, their risk of dying from heart disease rose significantly. Your retina, in other words, carries a kind of biological clock that ticks at the same speed as your cardiovascular system. There is one specific finding that cardiologists and eye doctors both take seriously, a condition called hypertensive retinopathy. It develops in stages. Early on, arteries narrow almost imperceptibly. Then come the arteriovenous changes, then small flame-shaped hemorrhages can appear on the retina, and eventually cotton wool spots, areas where blood flow has briefly been cut off. By the time those appear, the heart and kidneys are almost certainly under stress as well. These are not eye problems that happen to look like heart problems. They are the same problem, wearing different faces. Now, none of this means that every trip to the eye doctor is secretly a cardiac stress test. Most routine eye exams do not include a detailed cardiovascular analysis, and an eye doctor's role is vision care, not heart care. But what it does mean is this: a comprehensive dilated eye exam, the kind where the doctor can see the full retina, is doing more than checking whether your prescription has changed. The information is there in the image, whether or not anyone is formally reading it for heart risk. This is particularly worth understanding after 60, because the relationship between the eye and the heart becomes more legible with age. The cumulative effects of blood pressure, blood sugar, inflammation, and cholesterol, each of which leaves marks on the retinal vessels, build up over decades. A 65-year-old's retina has had more time to accumulate those signals than a 30-year-old's. The eye is a long-term ledger, and at 65, it may be carrying entries from decisions and conditions going back 20 years. So what is actually useful to do with this information? A few things are worth knowing. First, a dilated eye exam, not just a quick vision screen, is the one that gives the doctor a real view of the retina. The American Academy of Ophthalmology recommends adults over 60 get a comprehensive dilated exam every 1 to 2 years. If you have diabetes or high blood pressure, more frequently. Not because the exam replaces cardiac care, but because it adds a window your primary care doctor does not otherwise have. Second, if an eye exam does turn up something like arteriovenous changes or early signs of hypertensive retinopathy, that finding belongs in a conversation with your primary care doctor or cardiologist, not just in the eye doctor's file. These two specialties do not always talk to each other as much as they should. Bringing the report with you or asking the eye clinic to share findings directly closes a gap that the healthcare system does not always close for you. Third, and this is perhaps the most quietly encouraging part, the same habits that protect your cardiovascular system protect your retinal vessels too. Consistent movement, a diet built around vegetables and whole foods, managing blood pressure without letting it drift for years unchecked, not smoking, keeping blood sugar stable. These are not separate to-do lists for your heart and your eyes. They are the same list, one set of vessels, one set of choices. That is actually good news because it means you are not managing two problems. You are tending one system. The eye has been called a window to the soul for centuries. As it turns out, it may be a more reliable window to the cardiovascular system than anyone fully appreciated until recently. The vessels visible there are not a metaphor. They are real tissue, reflecting real conditions, carrying real predictive weight. An exam that most people treat as a vision errand may be quietly carrying information about the health of your heart, your brain, and your future. That is worth knowing, and it is absolutely worth asking your doctor about.